A young boy's desperate cry for his mother echoes through the night at the Bakley clan's estate. Inside, he struggles against a man's hold, asking what happened as his father watches with a cold gaze. The clan leader sternly orders everyone to stop making a fuss and leave the room immediately. He then commands that the incident must never be leaked to the outside, leaving his son in utter shock. The father declares that the Bakley clan will not seek revenge, causing the young boy to fall to his knees in disbelief. He justifies his decision for the sake of the clan, warning his son, Bakley Woon, not to act recklessly. With his final words spoken, the clan leader turns his back and walks away, abandoning his son in the dark room. Woon tearfully questions how his father can call himself a man if he won't even avenge his own wife's death. Overwhelmed by betrayal, he concludes that his father is not even human. Having made up his mind, the young man gets up and decides to leave the Bakley clan for good. He feels no attachment left and knows he is too weak now. But he vows to get stronger. The youth resolves to found a new sect, gather followers, and build his own power from nothing. He will then hunt down everyone involved in his mother's death, and all those who knew yet stayed silent. Woon swears to make them all pay, even if it takes him decades to achieve his revenge. 12 years later, a building burns as a man begs for his life. Admitting that he was wrong, he desperately offers to grant any wish to the lone figure standing before him amidst the flames. The figure is now an adult Bakley Woon, his expression cold as he calmly holds a bloodied blade. Surrounded by fallen bodies, he agrees that there is something he wants from the desperate man. The man's face lights up with a flicker of hope, eagerly asking what his desire is. A cold smile spreads across Woon's face as he calmly tells him that the only thing he wants is his life. The man's face twists in anger, insisting that Woon's demand is not a funny joke. Woon calmly accepts the defiance, stating that if the man will not give his life willingly, he will just take it himself, raising his glowing, triangular blade with deadly purpose. Enraged, the warrior lunges forward, screaming about being toyed with and vowing to destroy Woon's corpse. But Woon is faster, appearing behind his foe with glowing eyes, while remarking on his filthy mouth. A powerful downward slash sends the man crashing through the wooden floor of the burning building. A huge cloud of dust and debris erupts from the lower level as Woon calmly watches from above. He maintains an impassive expression, completely unfazed by the destruction he just caused. The opponent bursts from the wreckage, leaping back up, and vowing to send Woon's head to the Murim Alliance. Unflustered, Woon grips his sword tightly, preparing to meet the final, desperate assault. He unleashes a single, blindingly fast slash that cuts a bright arc through the dark air. The attack is so precise that the man's head is instantly separated from his body in one clean cut. Woon now stands alone in the courtyard as the building continues to burn intensely behind him. With a swift flick of his wrist, he clears the blood from his blade, his mission now complete. A woman approaches from the shadows, calling him Captain, and presenting a scroll on a tray. He turns to her with a wide, blood-splattered smile, thanking Moyang Hyan for waiting so patiently. The woman calmly holds out the scroll, advising him to wipe the blood from his face first. He dismisses her concern while taking the scroll, telling her the blood is nothing to worry about. Standing in the courtyard, he wipes the blood from his cheek and uses it to mark the scroll. He looks down at his work, wondering if this is the end of his pad H. Woon cheerfully tosses the scroll to his companion, telling her to deliver it to the Murim Alliance because he is retiring. As he walks away from the flames, she asks if he is heading back home. He confirms it, saying he has achieved all his goals in the Alliance. The woman then asks if she can visit him someday. He agrees, telling her to come find him if she ever gets bored. She points out that he still needs to tell her where to find him, causing him to stop in his tracks. With a grin, he finally tells her to find him in Hulong County, within the Su Bai province. Sometime later, the scene transitions to a peaceful river where he travels by boat, heading toward his new home. He looks out at the water, reflecting on the long journey that has led him to this point in his life. He remembers leaving his clan as a boy, determined to join the Miram Alliance, and becomes strong enough for his revenge. He recalls developing his skills, rising to the rank of captain, and how 12 long years have passed since he began his path. Now, he feels the time has finally come to fulfill his ambition of creating his very own sect. He clutches a heavy bag of money, pleased that he saved enough to buy a manor, and the perfect property has just become available. Standing on the boat with his arms crossed, he lets out a quiet chuckle, feeling that everything is falling perfectly into place. He suddenly throws his arms up in excitement, believing that the heavens themselves are aiding his cause. The boatman wonders if he has picked up a crazy passenger, but Woon quickly apologizes for getting carried away. He proudly explains that he is on his way to finalize the purchase of a manor to found his dream sect. The boatman mutters to himself, realizing there is only one manor for sale in the area, the one rumored to be haunted. He quickly dismisses his own thoughts and wishes the young man's sect to flourish safely, to which Woon thanks him cheerfully. His confident laughter echoes across the water as the small boat continues its journey toward the shore. But his excitement suddenly vanishes the moment he lays his eyes upon his destination. A real estate agent points to a large mansion, but Woon can only stare in utter disbelief. Woon furiously grabs the agent, accusing him of a scam. The man nervously insists it was a rare find and begs him to look around first. Inside, Woon notes the filthy, unmaintained state of the manor. The agent promises to explain everything after they finish the tour. He begins the tour explaining the property has 45 rooms and 5 training halls that can be used however Woon wishes. Woon asks about the previous owner, finding the number of training grounds unusual. The agent claims not to know, saying it is an ancient property. He adds that with a few repairs, it will be a perfect location for a new sect. One agrees but remains suspicious about the deal. Frustrated, Woon directly asks what the problem with the manor is. The agent, Yuryong, acknowledges the captain's straightforward nature. Yuryong casually reveals that there are no major issues, except that every single previous owner has died on the property. Woon is stunned to hear this. The agent continues, clarifying they all died from sudden heart failure with no apparent wounds. He explains that according to rumors, they died the very night they bought the manor, leading people to call the place haunted. Enraged, Woon confronts the man for trying to sell him such a place. Yuryong quickly explains the drastically reduced price. He laughs and hugs the broker, saying he should have mentioned the discount before. The relieved agent praises the captain of the Miram Alliance and happily hands over the deed to the property. Woon takes the deed, and a strange notification appears in his mind confirming he has received the item. Suddenly, his body starts shaking uncontrollably as he holds the deed. The agent asks what is wrong, but Woon dismisses it as nothing. Yuryong tells Woon to meet him if he survives the night. The new owner agrees to the condition. The agent walks away with a smile, leaving Woon alone in the doorway of his newly acquired and potentially lethal manor. After a long sigh, Woon turns back to the empty building, holding the deed to his future sect. He shouts in pure joy, ecstatic to finally have his own manor and completely ignoring the potential danger. He declares that all that's left is to recruit disciples while excitedly placing a hand on a nearby wooden pillar. The pillar instantly crumbles into a cloud of dust, making him realize that first, he has a lot of cleaning to do. With a determined smile, Woon continues cleaning the dusty manor, ready to make it his own. After hours of work, he stands at the entrance, feeling accomplished and ready to finally finish the job. As he enters a large hall, he notices a single sword resting on a display stand in the center of the room. He wonders if the previous owner might have left it behind. Approaching the blade with curiosity, he picks it up, thinking it could fetch a decent price, and considers himself lucky for the find. The moment he touches it, he is suddenly transported to a strange, brightly lit, and futuristic-looking space. A blue window appears, identifying him as a martial artist with the objective of establishing a sect and giving him a high grade. Confused by this strange new occurrence, he quickly looks around, trying to understand his new surroundings. Suddenly, a fast-moving object slices past his face, forcing him to react instantly to the unseen threat. He instinctively draws the sword to defend himself, dropping the scabbard as he prepares for another attack. A message adjusts the test difficulty, making him realize that this is what must have killed all the previous owners. He spots a cannon-like device on the ceiling, concluding that it must be the source of the projectile that nearly hit him. The test commences on extreme difficulty, but he accepts the challenge, deciding to face it head-on. A trial of martial prowess begins, and the device on the ceiling starts to glow, preparing to fire. He channels his energy, declaring that he will show the test why he was a captain of the Merem Alliance. With his sword ready, he confidently dares the mysterious trial to come at him with its full power. But as he braces for the attack, he senses something is wrong and hesitates for a split second. An unseen force slams into him, sending him flying backward across the white, sterile room. He lands hard but notices the attack stopped just short of the wall, realizing it has a limited range. Getting up, he sees that the sword is damaged, and although he can rest for a moment, he looks up in surprise as a new sword materializes in front of him. Realizing the trial is giving him another chance, he stands up, a smirk on his face, noting that the rules of this mysterious test seem to have some flexibility. A thoughtful expression crosses his face as he ponders the situation, trying to find a weakness in the defensive system. He realizes the attack does not reach the back wall, which means its primary function is to guard something. He deduces that the system must be protecting an object or area at the opposite end of the trial space. With his new plan in mind, he immediately leaps toward the cluster of cannons on the other side of the room. He is shocked when dozens of hidden cannons emerge from the walls, all aiming directly at him as he flies through the air. The cannons all fire at once, unleashing a massive and deadly barrage of projectiles toward him. Twisting his body, he desperately deflects the incoming volley with his sword and even his bare hands. With intense concentration, he manages to parry another projectile, just inches away from his face. He cries out in exertion as the relentless assault continues, pushing him to his physical and mental limits. He unleashes a powerful spinning technique, using his blade to create a defensive barrier against the multiple shots. A bright flash of light emanates from his final move as his eyes widen with pure, desperate focus. The trial abruptly ends, and he suddenly finds himself back in the dusty, silent hallway of the real manor. He immediately storms out to find the agent, who calmly greets him and asks if he made it through the night. Yuryung maintains a composed and innocent smile, acting as if he has no idea what Woon experienced. Woon furiously grabs the man by his robes, shouting that he was never warned that such a thing would appear. He points at a glowing blue window only he can see, explaining that it has been following him since the night before. The agent looks confused, insisting there is nothing there and asking if Woon hit his head. Frustrated, Woon lets him go. The agent smugly warns that if things continue to go wrong, Woon tells the agent he needs the manor for now, as he has a lot to prepare for the sect establishment ceremony. He explains he needs about 20 uniforms and asks for recommendations. The agent suggests local shops but warns they will be difficult to deal with. Yuryung elaborates that the shops are in a contract with the Yellow Dragon Hall, a powerful group that has supplied textiles to the imperial family. The agent nervously sips his drink, commenting that gossip travels faster than the wind. With a dark aura, Woon asks if Yuryung spread the rumor. The agent deflects, calling it free publicity for the new sect. He then nervously tries to change the subject, saying Woon's survival proves the manor is safe, but his reassurance falls flat. Woon furiously blames the agent for introducing him to the haunted manor in the first place, causing all his current troubles. Later, a shop owner cheerfully tells Woon that he will not sell him anything. Woon bangs on the closed door, trying to make an offer, but the man inside firmly refuses to sell. The owner yells that he is an unlucky person with a haunted reputation, revealing just how fast the rumors have spread. Walking through the streets, Woon wonders why news travels so quickly here. He tells himself to remain calm to avoid making a bad first impression. His thoughts are interrupted by a loud commotion nearby, and he turns his head to investigate the source. A young boy clings to a man's leg, yelling that he promised to save his sister, but the man just calls him a little brat. An elderly man rushes over, asking what is happening. The boy, Xiao explains that the men deceived him and stole his money. The old man angrily tells the boy his sister is hopeless, and then strikes him hard across the face, sending him reeling. A bystander identifies the attackers as members of the White Dragon sect. A woman orders her subordinate to handle the matter. One of the thugs tells the elderly man he should have left when he had the chance, as he now has to get his hands dirty. Another member of the sect approaches with a smirk, ready to join the confrontation. Before he can make a move, Woon appears in a blur and lands a powerful kick directly to the man's face. The thug is sent flying, crashing hard into the ground as Woon stands over him. The remaining thug from the White Dragon sect furiously demands to know who the intruder is. Woon glances back at the old man and the injured boy, admitting his name does not carry much weight anymore. With a confident smirk, he introduces himself as Bakley Woon, the sect leader of the Righteous Heavens sect. The thug scoffs at the unknown sect and leaps into the air, enraged that someone would dare interfere with his sect's business. He launches a powerful punch, but Woon effortlessly blocks it with a single hand, his expression calm. He then retaliates with a swift punch of his own, sending a shockwave of energy toward his opponent. The thug is thrown to the ground, crying out in pain as Woon calmly advises him not to judge people by their sect's fame. With a cold glint in his eyes, he adds that it is especially foolish when one does not even know their opponent's strength. Another warrior from the sect charges forward, furiously asking if Woon intends to make the White Sword sect his enemy. He continues his charge, questioning if the newcomer even understands what such a declaration means. Woon simply states that he does not care and delivers a powerful, direct punch to the man's face. The warrior is sent flying backward, his weapon clattering to the ground, as the remaining members watch in shock. The woman from the sect finally speaks up, realizing that the man before her is the former captain of the Miram Alliance. Woon is already in a fall mood, because the rumors have made it impossible for him to get uniforms made. He tells the woman to stop talking behind his back and to come at him directly if she has a problem. He then gestures for her to attack, confidently challenging her to bring it on and settle things here and now. The woman declares his actions an official challenge against the White Sword sect and leaps into the air to attack. She smashes the ground with her weapon, sending a wave of earth and debris flying toward her target. Woon easily dodges the initial attack, watching as another member of her sect lunges at him from the side. He avoids the second attacker's sword strike, preparing to counterattack. Woon lands a solid palm strike on his opponent, seizing the opening in his defense. He follows up with a swift punch to another attacker's gut, neutralizing him with a single, powerful blow. A final, devastating strike sends the last thug flying, ending the confrontation in a matter of seconds. With all the attackers defeated, he calmly states that it was indeed a challenge. He warns the defeated woman that if she wants a real fight, she can come to the Righteous Heavens sect at any time. He then tells her that, if she does not want things to get uglier, she should leave quietly while she still can. As the woman and her remaining men retreat, she vows that he will regret his actions. Woon turns to the boy and the old man, asking if they are all right. Seo excitedly replies that he is. The boy remembers Woon was looking for someone to make uniforms and eagerly offers his sister's sewing skills. Seo Woo then drops to his knees and begs the warrior to save his sister from her mysterious illness. Woon is taken aback, trying to explain that this is a job for a physician. But a blue window suddenly appears before him. The system announces a new trade opportunity, identifying the boy as a potential third-grade target. Woon is intrigued, noting that a third-grade rating is quite high, and asks the boy to tell him more about the situation. Seo Woo explains that their parents passed away last year, leaving him and his sister to fend for themselves. Although they managed to get by with her sewing skills, she recently fell ill with a frostbite. The elderly man introduces himself, explaining he runs a fabric shop and used to hire the sister for work. The boy then leads them toward his home, eager to introduce them to his ailing sibling. As they approach a rundown shack, Woon silently hopes the place does not collapse on them. The boy bursts inside, announcing he has brought the warrior who catches ghosts, much to Woon's awkward embarrassment. Woon finds a young woman sitting near a campfire, but she asks who he is. He realizes the girl's condition is far worse than he expected, as even the fire does not burn her skin. The system informs him that the fire is heat, and the cold in her limbs are clashing violently, making him wonder if it is a side effect of yin cultivation. He introduces himself to the girl, Seowa, and explains that her brother begged him to save her. She confirms that keeping her hands and feet near the fire does not hurt her, and she needs to do it to avoid frostbite. The old fabric shop owner enters, asking what is going on. Seowa apologizes for not contacting him, explaining her condition worsened. One asks to check her pulse to confirm his suspicions about her illness. She agrees but asks him to be quick. He takes her hand and a bright, glowing energy flows from his palm into hers. A wave of blue energy surrounds them. As he focuses on analyzing the state of her body, he feels the intense, chaotic energy flowing within her, confirming the dangerous imbalance in her system. The system warns him that she is absorbing too much yin energy, which will be dangerous if it continues. He already knows. The analysis confirms that excessive yin energy has invaded her body, but he senses something more complex about it. He tells her he understands her condition now, which surprises her. He explains that she has what is known as an extreme yin body, a rare and powerful constitution. This condition causes her body to naturally draw in yin energy from its surroundings and store it internally. He mentions that he has heard of the legendary Sword Empress, who had the same type of body. The girl thinks it sounds amazing, not yet realizing the full implications of her condition. Although she has a blessed constitution, her body has absorbed too much yin energy, depleting her yang energy. He delivers the grim news that if her condition continues, she will likely die within 3 months. She asks if it's true that there is no cure. Her brother, however, Seo-woo, denies it. The old man asks if medicine could help, but Woon explains that it would only delay things. Woon realizes the key to her treatment is yang energy, but the system keeps interrupting his thoughts. A window appears, showing an item called Essence Water, which can be obtained by completing a quest. It explains that the water increases the health and energy recovery rate of sect members. A new quest then appears: recruit the first disciple, with a reward of 50 essence water. A brilliant idea strikes him as he realizes he can solve both problems at once by recruiting her. He confidently tells the siblings that he may have found a way to help, though he is not entirely sure it will work. He reaches out his hand to Seowa and asks her to become his disciple. The girl and her brother are both stunned by the sudden and unexpected offer. Woon looks at her with a sincere expression, asking her to trust him just this once. Seowa hesitates, explaining that she has never learned martial arts before and is unsure about his proposal. She recalls how the world of martial artists is full of selfish people who only care about themselves. She remembers how her own parents died after being caught in the conflicts of these so-called righteous heroes. She wonders if this man is the same, only pretending to help so he can abandon her later. She notices his outstretched hand is becoming frostbitten from proximity to her yin energy. Surprised, she points out that his hand is being affected by her condition. He smiles warmly and dismisses her concern, saying the frostbite is nothing if it means he can cure her. His genuine self-sacrifice makes her reconsider, wondering if this man is truly different from the others. She decides that if there is a chance she can be healed, she will trust him one last time. She places her hand in his and agrees to his offer, saying she will be counting on him. The mission is completed, but the system also warns him that he suffered a minor injury. He uses the essence water, initiating a minor recovery effect that flows through their connected hands. Su Bai is shocked, stating that her hands are suddenly getting warm for the first time in a long while. The system confirms her recovery rate has increased, and Woon smiles, pleased that his plan is working. An additional recovery effect is applied, and her body is enveloped in a bright, healing light. Woon can feel the yang energy flowing back in her system, counteracting the excessive yin. The system confirms that her yang energy is being restored as a warm, golden light emanates from her hands. She looks at her hands in disbelief, exclaiming that her frostbitten skin is healing right before her eyes. The old man asks if he used energy arts to heal her, and Woon vaguely confirms it was something like that. A booming laugh fills the small shack as the old man watches the scene with great amusement. He declares that it was quite a spectacle and says he likes the young man's style, understanding now why the Murim Alliance leader values him. Woon is surprised to hear that this old man knows the leader of the Murim Alliance. The man apologizes for not introducing himself properly and states his name is Qian Gamyong. He reveals himself to be the owner of the Yellow Dragon Hall, also known as the Yellow Dragon Hall Master. Meanwhile, the defeated members of the White Sword sect are brought before their leader, begging for forgiveness. The woman who challenged Woon pleads for one more chance, her face filled with terror. The sect leader, So Yeowang, learns of Bakley Woon and his new Righteous Heavens sect. With a sinister grin, he decides he should host a huge welcoming party for the newcomer. Woon remains silent, processing the sudden revelation about the old man's true identity. He asks for confirmation, still surprised to be in the presence of the legendary Yellow Dragon Hall Master. The Master laughs, admitting that he knew Woon was no ordinary person from the moment he saw him. Woon apologizes for not recognizing him sooner, but the Yellow Dragon Hall Master laughs it off, saying it is all right. The Master then gets straight to the point, asking what Woon thinks about joining the Yellow Dragon Hall. He promises to support whatever he wants to do, a tempting offer for any aspiring sect leader. The system detects the beginnings of a new business partnership, ranking the Yellow Dragon Hall as a first-grade opponent. The hall is not just a merchant guild, it also has countless martial masters, making even renowned sects wary of them. The master's words hold immense power, capable of influencing both the orthodox and unorthodox sides of the Murim world. Woon acknowledges that it is a very good opportunity, but he realizes it is not the future he wants for himself. He politely turns down the offer, explaining that he cannot accept it at this time. With a smile, he tells the master that he has just taken in his very first disciple and intends to build his own sect. The master is visibly displeased, crossing his arms and questioning how Woon dares to decline his generous offer. Woon counters with a proposal of his own, asking for a chance to do business with him instead. The master's anger grows, accusing Woon of paying back his friendliness with arrogance. One boldly promises to create a sect that rivals the most powerful factions in the Murim within 10 years. The master scoffs at the idea, calling it ridiculous. but Woon confidently affirms that he can do it. The old man erupts in laughter, telling Woon he is good at coming up with absurd statements. Woon clarifies that the fame he promised is not for the master himself, which only confuses the man further. He then asks to be introduced to his new disciple, explaining that he wants to negotiate for the Yellow Dragon Hall's future. After a moment of thought, the master agrees to the strange request. He says he will send his own disciple to Woon's sect, and the deal will depend on that disciple's judgment. He then adds a stern warning, telling Woon that if his sect ever disappoints him, an intimidating aura of a golden dragon surrounds the master as he warns Woon to take responsibility for his choice. Woon remains unfazed, his own powerful blue tiger aura manifesting behind him as he confidently says there is nothing to worry about. The master finally agrees to the deal, his intense demeanor softening as they finalize their agreement. He stands up and loudly orders his men to bring in the silk, surprising Woon and the two siblings with his sudden generosity. Outside, a group of men awaits, having brought a large cart filled with high-quality fabrics for the new sect. The master explains that the silk is a contract fee and a gift, insisting that they accept it. Woon is impressed by the skill of the master's men, realizing he had not sensed their presence despite how close they were. The master internally notes Woon's arrogance, finding it similar to his own when he was younger. As his carriage departs, he calls out to his driver, giving him new instructions. He decides to visit an old friend, since he is already out, and tells the driver to take him to the Evil Path Alliance. With a sly smile, he announces his intention to have a drink with the leader of the Evil Path Alliance. Back at the manor, So-Wa shows Woon the first uniform she has created from the gifted silk. He tries it on and is immediately delighted, exclaiming that he loves it and that it has increased his dignity and charm. So-Wa is glad he likes it, admitting it is her first time working with such high-quality material. The system notifies him that the clothing has been expertly crafted and asks him to pick a reward. He is presented with several great options: advanced texts, miracle medicine, or an exclusive trait unlock. Though the first two options are tempting, he has another idea in mind and makes his choice. He chooses the exclusive trait unlock, which grants him the ability to awaken the hidden traits of his disciples. A new window appears, showing So-Wa's current attributes and traits. A warning informs him that he cannot unlock any new traits. The system explains that the disciple needs to increase their grade first, which Woon finds completely unfair. He decides he will just have to make her stronger, so he can unlock her hidden potential later. With a new goal in mind, he cheerfully announces that it is time to start her training, much to her and her brother's confusion. The girl is nervous about learning martial arts, wondering if she will be able to do it well. She recalls his earlier promise, but her self-doubt makes her worry about what will happen if she fails. His reassuring words echo in her mind, reminding her of his promise to fix her condition and help her. She decides to trust him and worry about the details later, eagerly asking what she will be learning first. He instructs her to begin with the most basic foundation of all martial arts, the horseback riding pose. She is immediately disappointed, having expected to learn something more exciting and advanced. Woon explains that she is not physically fit enough for more complex techniques and must first build her stamina. He tells her to hold the pose for a full hour, an order that leaves her completely speechless. With a determined look, she begins the grueling training, her body already protesting the strain. She asks if she will really be able to learn martial arts this way. He assures her she will, explaining her natural affinity for yin energy. He tells her that internal energy builds up in her body naturally, and as long as she can form a danshin, she will be fine. He internally notes that he cannot let her potential go to waste, especially since she was born with the perfect conditions to be a martial artist. The training is suddenly interrupted by the sound of someone approaching the manor in a hurry. The agent Yuryung bursts in, shouting Woon's name with a look of panic on his face. He announces that the White Sword sect has sent a letter demanding to know if Woon has any connection to them. Woon is annoyed to be dealing with the thugs from yesterday again. But he takes the letter from the frantic agent. He calmly prepares to read the message, wondering what the rival sect could possibly want from him now. Woon reads the letter and discovers that the White Sword sect is holding a competition, and they have been invited to participate. Yuryung explains that the rival sect dominates the region, and its leader is notorious for intimidating weaker sects at these events. The agent adds that the leader usually targets sects of similar or weaker power, so it's strange that he's targeting them. With the furious reaction of Woon and his disciples, the man panics and says that it's all just a misunderstanding, but Woon just smiles and says that the leader of the other sect is trying to embarrass them, and that this will be fun. He declares that this is the perfect opportunity to spread their name, but Seolwa seems worried about the idea. The girl expresses her insecurity, saying that it's just the two of them, and she's afraid of being a burden to him. At that moment, he turns to her and, with his hand on his sword, announces that she will participate in the competition alone. Shocked, the girl realizes that she will now have to train even harder since she will be competing on her own. Then she completely panics, screaming as it dawns on her that she will have to fight alone. Later that night, the young woman sighed wearily after a long and tiring day of training. She is lying on the floor complaining that her stamina is too low and that she has been in the horse position for too long. The girl also complains that she can barely swing the sword for an hour and has only learned one basic movement. Lying on the floor, she looks at the ceiling and remembers that she only has 2 weeks until the duel begins. Seeing her master watching her during training, she wonders what he's really thinking with all this. He simply gives her an encouraging smile and a thumbs up, telling her not to worry. Frustrated with his relaxed attitude, the girl decides she's going to start a fight to see what happens. The scene changes to a closed door while the narration explains that he is not sleeping inside. A new girl arrives looking for the cult leader, but hears a cry of pain coming from the room. The scream came from a boy trying to sue, and the system notifies him that he has injured himself for the 23rd time. Woon realizes she must be questioning his training, so he needs to finish her clothes soon. He holds the garment with his bandaged hands and hopes she will like the gift he made. As the girl walks away, a system notification says that her responsibility trait is about to bloom. The protagonist is confused by this sudden notification that appeared out of nowhere. The very next day, Seolwa is in town, and a merchant wonders if her sect only recruits beautiful people. Woon follows her, his hair covering his face, and wonders why the clothes he made look so strange. He then asks if she liked it, and even though she thought the stitching was messy, the young woman says she loved the gift. The scene changes to the White Sword tournament, where the event is about to begin and is said to be to promote friendship. The sect leader goes on to say that is a place for young martial artists and that he has prepared a small gift. But with a malevolent look, he orders his men to demonstrate the overwhelming power imbalance to everyone there. The duel event begins in the third area of the preliminary round in a packed arena. Seolwa looks quite nervous, holding her wooden staff as she waits for her turn to fight. With that, she turns to her master and asks if she can really do that. Woon tells her to remember her training, but the girl thinks all she did was stand in the horse position. Then he puts his hand on her shoulder and asks her to believe him because he was the one who trained her. The master assures her that she has become much stronger than before, and the girl asks if this is true. She says she doesn't know if she believes it, but that she will do her best and is preparing for the fight with determination. The young woman decides to use all her strength to attack and quickly advances against her first opponent. She delivers a powerful blow with the stick, and the man screams in pain as he is hit squarely. The opponent falls to the ground defeated with just one blow, demonstrating the result of their training. The match referee is completely shocked by the unexpected outcome of the fight. Even then, the crowd can't believe that the fight was decided in an instant. Woon then says from the audience that this is why he told her to believe in herself. The judge raises the flag and declares Seowa of the Righteous Heavens sect as the grand winner of the match. The protagonist believes that in the last 2 weeks, he has taught her the mindset a martial artist should have. He reflects that delivering a fool on strike is not an easy task, especially for new martial artists of that age. The boy continues to think that many fear hurting their opponent, but Seowa managed to use his full power, unlike them. The young woman celebrates happily and shouts to her master that she has won the fight. Woon watches with a smile and thinks that she will easily reach the main round of the tournament. With that, he decides he doesn't need to worry about her and can look for other promising talents in the arena. Immediately afterwards, they announce that the next fighter will be Jing Guang from the White Sword sect. The new fighter enters the arena and defeats his opponent with a single, swift blow of his wooden sword. Flashback shows a muscular boy named Wang Paul being recruited by a cult leader. The leader praises his physique and talent and invites him to join his sect. The young man accepts the invitation with great joy and thanks the sect leader for the opportunity. Back in the present, the muscular Wang Pao lies defeated on the ground by the White Sword fighter. The audience is impressed that Jing Guang defeated someone 3 years older than him with such ease. The defeated boy begs him to stop, saying it's just training, and there's no need to go that far. An older man watches the scene disappointed and thinks he misjudged the boy for being so weak inside. Desperate, the defeated young man looks out onto the balcony and calls out to his cult leader for help. The leader of his cult humiliates him in his memory, saying that he will continue cleaning up other people's messes forever. Wang Pao wakes up startled in his bed after having a nightmare about his master's words. He then realizes that it was all just a bad dream while trying to calm down. Suddenly, Jing Wang appears in his room, and the defeated young man asks what he is doing there. The other says he wants to warm up for the duel later, but Wang Pao tries to refuse, saying he doesn't feel well. Jing Wang stares at him with disdain and asks why it matters, ordering him to get ready for the warm-up. The boy insults him, saying that his only usefulness is his body, so the least he can do is help. With that, he says it will be a light warm-up and tells him to get out of bed while Wang Paul remains silent. The scene returns to the packed arena, and an announcer declares the start of the tournament semifinals. Seowa's opponent Wu Jiam uses the illusion sword, a style that is difficult to predict but full of flaws. Woon asks his disciple what she thinks she needs to do to defeat someone with that style. He smiles and says that her answer is correct, but there is a much easier method she can choose. The girl is confused, not understanding what her master is trying to say. With a mischievous smile, the protagonist assures her that with his method, she can certainly win, and asks her to trust him. Coy excitedly agrees, ready to follow her master's instructions without hesitation. Uriyoung approaches Woon and comments that they've already reached the semifinals of the tournament. The agent congratulates the protagonist on her progress in just 1 month, but he doesn't seem impressed. Woon then says he will only accept congratulations after she wins the final, and Uriyoung wonders if he's serious. In the arena, the girl's opponent praises her for having come so far, but says that her luck ends there. He smiles confidently and states that everyone in the audience is eager to see her defeated. Seowa confidently replies that he is wrong, because her leader believes in her victory. Her opponent laughs and calls her crazy, just like her master. Then the match begins and the girl charges forward, shouting that she's going to win that duel. The two clash in the center of the arena, in a rapid exchange of blows with their wooden weapons. The boy smiles and admits that she has a lot of courage to confront him in that way. He then attacks forcefully, and she realizes that his fundamentals as a disciple of the White Sword are on another level. The young woman is surprised by his skill, but remains focused on defense. With that, she jumps back and the opponent asks if she is already retreating. Salwa maintains a determined expression and prepares for his next move. She remembers her master's advice and thinks that if she can't distinguish feats from real attacks, she needs to keep her guard up in the center to protect herself from any blow he might try. The opponent launches a series of rapid attacks, but the girl manages to block them all. The force of the last blow pushes her backward, and she struggles to maintain her balance. The boy is surprised and impressed that she managed to block his attack. He admits that he underestimated her and begins to use his illusion technique with a purple energy. With a wicked grin, the fighter asks her what she thinks of that while preparing a new attack. Several beams of purple energy are fired at high speed towards her. The girl is shocked by the energy attack, which she has never seen before in her training sessions. Woon explains that fighters with illusionary styles are weaker up close, so they try to create distance. He concludes by saying that if she manages to reach him with the sword, she will win the fight. With a determined look, the girl declares that she is only just beginning the fight. Then she runs towards her opponent, dodging all energy attacks. The boy is impressed by her agility and says she's not bad at all. Siowa continues to skillfully dodge the attacks, getting closer and closer. He attempts a direct hit, but says her movements are too obvious to land on her. The young woman is struck squarely by the blow and thrown backward by the force of the impact. Woon and Yeryung watch the scene with serious expressions, worried about the outcome. The young woman falls to the ground, and her opponent smiles arrogantly, declaring his victory. Siowa lies collapsed in the arena, panting, but still refuses to give up the fight. The fighter says disdainfully that he had some hope for her, but that it all ends there. The girl looks at him angrily and says that the fight is not over yet. With that, she stands up with difficulty, gripping her two wooden weapons firmly. Her opponent mocks her, saying she can barely stand, and asks what she's going to do. The young woman surprises everyone by leaping into the air amidst a barrage of energy blasts. The boy is shocked by her audacity and wonders if she is playing a joke on him. With a war cry, the fighter declares that it will all end with that final blow. She delivers a powerful final blow, striking her opponent squarely in the face. Woon smiles, satisfied with the result, and says that she finally managed to win the fight. But a man in the audience stands up and accuses the girl of cheating to win. He yells at her for pretending to have lost in order to ambush her opponent, and that this is against the rules. The angry man continues his accusation, saying it's stubbornness on his part not to accept defeat to a girl. At this point, the leader of the rival sect appears and questions whether the White Sword sect has always been so rude. One of the disciples apologizes for his rudeness to the leader of the Righteous Heavens sect, but Woon accepts. The leader of the White Sword then declares that the fault lies with his disciple for presuming defeat, and accepts the outcome. Siowa is declared the winner, and news spreads that she learned martial arts in less than a month. The girl celebrates her victory and waves to her master, who congratulates her on a job well done. Wong Pal observes the scene from afar with a sad and thoughtful expression on his face. Her master approaches and orders him to put poison in the girl's food to weaken her. He goes on to say that defeating her is not enough, and orders Jin Guang to permanently cripple her. The young man refuses to obey the order, but his leader hits him with a violent slap across the face. The master calls him a fool and says that if he has no talent, at least he should follow orders. He then attacks him again and says that this is why the other disciples surpass him. Woon appears and comments that the leader of the White Sword disciplines his disciples very severely. With a confident smile, the protagonist introduces himself as the leader of the Righteous Heavens sect. The other leader accuses him of being disrespectful for interfering in the affairs of another sect. Woon says he doesn't know what's going on, but thinks he's being too harsh on his disciple. The rival master suggests that he mind his own business, but Woon says that he came to see him. With that, he requests that Wang Paul be handed over to his sect, leaving the other leader surprised. The young man is shocked and confused by the protagonist's sudden proposal. Woon explains that his sect's methods seem more suitable for the boy than those of the White Sword. The leader of the White Sword accuses his disciple of having approached the rival leader and therefore disobeyed his orders. With a mischievous smile, he then accepts Woon's offer, leaving Wang Pao in shock. But he says it would be a shame to get rid of a beloved disciple and proposes a wager. He thinks Su Bai is too much talent to be wasted in a small sect, and she feels a chill. The bet is that the winning sect of the tournament will be able to recruit a disciple from the losing sect. He says he's only making the offer out of pity, but Woon accepts the terms without hesitation. The leader of the White Sword is surprised by his confidence, but agrees to resolve things in this way. He laughs at the situation and says he's eager to see the outcome, because Woon will likely lose his only disciple. Woon grabs Wang Paul by the collar and asks if he knows why he chose him for his sect. He warns him that he didn't choose him solely based on his looks, and tells him to think carefully about his decision. Agent Yiriang approaches and asks if Seowa knows about the bet that was made. Woon ignores the question and says that the girl would be happy to have a mentor, and that all they need to do is win. He approaches his disciple and asks if she can win the game for them. The girl says she will do her best, but reminds him that he said the chances were 50%. The protagonist confirms what he said, but states that he believes in her and knows she can succeed. Encouraged by her master, the young woman is filled with determination and promises to give her best in the fight. The leader of the White Sword tells his disciple that he must not lower his guard under any circumstances. Jin Guang agrees, and his master reminds him that there can be no more humiliation and that he must win. Wang Pao advises Jin Guang to be careful in the fight, but he seems quite confident. He says he's not careless like the other one, and that his older brother seems to value things too much. With a determined look, Jin Guang declares that he will crush every last drop of their foolish hope. The judge orders the two competitors to advance to the center of the arena to begin the fight. The guy praises her for reaching the final, but says her luck ends there. Sao confidently replies that they will only know who is stronger after they face each other. The match begins and the fighter thinks she will probably try to avoid a direct confrontation, but to his surprise, the girl lunges forward with a direct and swift attack. He manages to defend himself, but the force of the blow catches him by surprise and makes him retreat. The boy is shocked and realizes that her inner power is much stronger than he expected. Woon reminds her opponent that they should think her inner power isn't that strong. She possesses the extreme yin body, a constitution that innately accumulates internal power. With this, he warns her that she will only have one chance to use this advantage to her benefit. The young woman leaps into the air and delivers a powerful downward blow with all her might. The opponent manages to block the attack, but the force of the impact causes him to retreat again. The girl takes advantage of the opening and punches him in the face, knocking him off balance. Jin Guang is surprised by her strength, but manages to stay on his feet. He admits that her inner strength is greater than he expected, but he still underestimates her. The boy says that even so, she is still just a newbie in moves to attack. He strikes her with a powerful energy blast that sends her flying with great force. The girl manages to defend herself at the last second, but realizes that he is very strong. She concentrates and declares that she will end the fight in 10 seconds with all her energy. With determination, Sealwa shouts that he can't lose like that and prepares for the counterattack. The system then announces that its responsibility trait has been activated at that moment. Your traits of diligence and adversity merge with irresponsibility, increasing your power. The girl manages to dodge his final blow at the last second, leaving her opponent by surprise. Under extreme pressure, her perception and judgment increase dramatically, and she screams from the effort. She manages to disarm her opponent and leaves him vulnerable to a direct attack. He is shocked by the turn of events and finds himself surrounded by a dark and menacing aura. Boy praises her for enduring so long, but challenges her to resist his final blow. The young woman is on high alert due to the pressure of his imminent attack. With his eyes glowing red, he declares that it's all over and launches his final attack. Woon cries out his disciple's name in despair upon seeing her critical situation, but he remembers his own words of encouragement and shouts that he believes in her. A massive explosion of dust and energy occurs in the center of the arena after the attack. The final attack is so powerful that the force of the impact throws the boy's body far away. The protagonist and the agent are shocked and confused by the unexpected outcome of the fight. The leader of the White Sword and his disciple are also surprised to see her cold key technique. A bright blue aura surrounds Seowa's hand. As she prepares her special technique, she uses the third form of the basic blue technique, concentrating all her energy on a single point. With a confident smile, the girl asks if he isn't feeling a little cold with his technique. Woon watches in shock as her body begins to fall through the air after the extreme exertion. Woon runs to get his disciple, but the judge stops him, saying he cannot enter the arena. He yells at the referee, saying the fight is over, and points to his fallen opponent. Jin Guang is lying unconscious on the ground, and the referee is surprised by the outcome of the match. The judge then declares Seowa of the Righteous Heavens sect as the grand victor of the fight. The girl sits down exhausted but smiles at her master, proud of her victory. The leader of the White Sword becomes furious and says that they made a mockery of his sect. Woon approaches his disciple and asks if she can stand up to celebrate. She says with a smile that she kept the promise she made to him, leaving him surprised. The protagonist smiles proudly and thinks about how she has grown as a fighter. He helps her to her feet and Yuriang congratulates her on her victory, saying she fought well. The judge announces the tournament winner, and the protagonist raises her arm in celebration. With a radiant smile, the girl celebrates her victory as champion of the tournament. Woon then addresses the crowd and says that he would like to say a few words. He announces that the official opening ceremony of his sect will be held in 1 month. The audience is surprised to learn that their sect hasn't even been officially opened yet. The leader of the White Sword becomes furious and accuses Woon of using his sect for the opening ceremony. He continues to shout, saying that the protagonist hid the cold Kai technique from her and tricked him. The rival master advances to attack but is stopped by his own disciple, Wang Paul. He yells at the boy, asking what he is doing, and the young man says that he should maintain his dignity. The furious leader accuses him of already defending the other sect and attacks him with his energy. The leader of the White Sword shouts that traitors must be eliminated on the spot and attacks his disciple. But Woon appears in the blink of an eye and blocks the attack with ease. The rival master is shocked by the intervention and asks what it means. The protagonist calmly informs him that Wang Pao is now a disciple of his sect. He then challenges him, saying that if he's not happy with the result, he can confront him personally. Woon breaks the rival leader's fingers with a strong grip, causing him to scream in pain. The man rises in pain, but the protagonist stares at him with a cold, determined look. He releases his rival master and orders him to do whatever he wants, showing that he is not afraid of him. The leader of the White Sword storms off in a rage, yelling at his former disciple to get out of his sight. With a hateful look, he swears he will never forget the humiliation he suffered. Woon asks Wang Pao if he still has any attachment to his former sect, but the boy denies it. The protagonist says that he is already an excellent martial artist, and that he will certainly prove his worth. Wang Pao's former master calls him a fool and abandons him, while Jin Guang watches him with disdain. He thinks his older brother is a strong man, but brainless, an empty shell. The young man feels undervalued and begins to cry as he remembers the words of his former teacher. He thanks Woon for the opportunity and promises to do his best in his new sect. The system announces that Wang Pao has become the second disciple of the Righteous Heavens sect. With that, the tournament ends and Yiriang comments that Siowa did all the work, but his master took the credit. 2 weeks later, the scene shows the protagonist's sect entering on a sunny day. Wang Pao does his training in the horse stance. He is confused by the training method. Wang Pao is confused by Siowa's greeting, and she laughs because he called her sister. She encourages him, saying that if he tries hard, he can become like her even with only 2 months of training. The boy says he's still confident in his body, and the girl tells him to fetch water by himself. The system highlights his strengths, such as his physical build and talent for learning techniques. Their weaknesses are low sensitivity to ki and slowness in accumulating internal energy. Woon observes his disciples and thinks he saw it clearly from the beginning. He reflects that Wang Pao's talent lies in his understanding of techniques and his unwavering mind. The protagonist admires the strength of his new disciples, Siowa and Wang Pao. He is pleased and thinks that his eye for talent is indeed very accurate. Agent Yiriang arrives and the protagonist asks how the preparations for the ceremony are going. He says that thanks to the publicity surrounding the tournament, they received many letters from people wanting to attend, but he adds that among them was an order from the Morim Alliance, which surprises Woon. The protagonist remains silent, processing the unexpected news of the alliance. He reads the order and discovers that the name Bak Rai is involved in the matter. The order requires an assessment of plagiarism of his basic gong in relation to the Bakri clan. Woon is furious because 15 years have passed since he left his old clan. He thinks that targeting an opponent's opening is typical of the Bakri clan, and that things were going too well. The martial arts of his sect are the result of 15 years of enlightenment and bear no trace of the Bakri clan. But he knows that if the Morim Alliance evaluator sides with his former clan, it will be difficult to avoid an accusation. If he fails the evaluation, he will not be able to teach his martial arts and will have to pay a huge compensation. Woon is worried because even if he is re-evaluated later, the standards will be even more stringent. Agent Yiriang says goodbye and leaves, leaving the protagonist to his thoughts. He realizes that his former clan is obviously aiming to cause trouble at his opening ceremony. The problem is where to get the basic gong. Now, to prepare for the assessment, his disciples enter the room arguing, and he asks what is happening. The girl announces that they have guests, and the protagonist is surprised by the news. 2 visitors arrive, and one of them wonders if that cheapskate really bought the entire mansion. Woon sees them in the courtyard and recognizes one of them as leader Changqian. The visitors introduce themselves as Chiangha and Namgong Wu from the Changqian Brigade. The girl is confused when she sees her master's reaction, who seems to be thinking about something. With a mischievous smile, the protagonist realizes that he can turn the tables in his favor with this visit. The scene shifts to the Bakri clan, where the Morim Alliance will likely side with them. Agent Yiriang wonders whether he should retreat, but his servant says there is nothing to worry about. He explains that the judgment of the Bakri clan is on a different level and cannot be underestimated. Yiriang asks his servant to deliver a letter that he is about to write. He decides that if he fears the influence of the Morim Alliance and the Bakri clan. He needs to expand the chessboard. With a wicked grin, he plans to drag the heretical league into the conflict as well. In the Bakri clan, a man tells the master of the outer hall that he has been doing unnecessary things again. He questions the assessment of plagiarism for a sect that hasn't even been established yet. The master of the outer hall, Bakri Song, says that this was merely the clan leader's personal decision. Bakri Song talks about the clan leader's sons, saying that the eldest, San, has no interest in martial arts. He goes on to say that San has excellent talent, but is impatient and, more importantly, a girl. The leader of the Bakri Kang clan says that this does not disqualify her from inheriting the clan, because there is no such rule. The master of the outer hall questions why he let Woon leave the clan if he valued him so much. He praises the protagonist's exceptional talent, intelligence, and nature, saying that no one could complain about him. The clan leader agrees, and the master of the outer hall insists that they must show him where he truly belongs. He declares that Woon's roots are in the Bakri clan, and that this is the will of the elders. But the clan leader says he has already done everything he could as a father, and that growing up requires overcoming challenges. He states that the protagonist must learn to protect his sect from the clutches of others. The master of the outer hall vows that he will bring Woon back to the clan no matter what happens. Assistant military strategist for the Martial Alliance, Lee Su, says that no sect accused of plagiarism has gotten away unscathed. The leader of the Bakri clan says he is not worried and that he will bring Woon back, no matter what. Lee Su doesn't understand his obsession with the protagonist since he's just a talented relative. The clan leader explains that if Woon had continued training in the Bakri arts, he would have become the greatest swordsman. He says that even though the protagonist has left the clan, they still need him. The master of the outer hall arrives at Woon's sect and asks how he will respond to the call of his lineage. He orders the gates to be opened, but no one answers his call. Woon is on the roof watching their arrival and preparing for the confrontation. The system detects an increase in your heart rate and recommends deep breathing, but you ignore it. He jumps from the roof towards the master of the outer hall. He uses his Gate of Heaven technique and lands in the courtyard with a powerful impact. The members of the Bakri clan prepare for the attack. But the scene changes to the ceremony. Woon is in the center of the arena, and the crowd is watching him intently. He holds his sect's flag and prepares to give his opening speech. The protagonist thanks everyone for attending and introduces himself as the leader of the sect. He says that before they begin, there is one issue that needs to be resolved first. With a confident smile, he prepares to clarify the situation for everyone present. He then loudly announces that his sect plagiarized the martial arts of the Bakri clan. Yang and the others are shocked by the unexpected statement and wonder what he is doing. The audience is confused and wonders if he just admitted to plagiarism at his own inauguration. A masked man in the crowd smiles and says things are getting interesting. The leader of the Bakri clan thinks the protagonist has given up, but Woon says things look different from where he is. The crowd falls silent, wondering what the protagonist is thinking with all this. Woon looks at the crowd with a smile and calls the Martial Alliance audit team to introduce themselves. The leader of the Bakri clan and his men are surprised to see the Alliance team there. He recognizes him as Changwol Sword, the leading expert of the Bakri clan, and greets him. The protagonist asks him to explain his little scheme, but the man says it's nothing complicated. With a smile, Woon declares that he intends to undergo a plagiarism check right there in front of everyone. The leader of the Bakri clan becomes furious and says that such judgments are handled in private, not in public. The man with the wedding ring is shocked by the revelation and shouts that it's all nonsense. Then our hero questions him about which part is absurd, and the man says that there is no one from the other sects but the protagonist reveals that there actually is, and points to the crowd, leaving the man with the ring surprised. Suddenly, a bald man makes his way through the crowd, and everyone recognizes him as the little ghost of Namgang. At that moment, a girl from the Wudong sect also appears, waving and announcing herself at the ceremony. The man from the Alliance wonders why everyone is there, and the warrior from Namgang explains that he has a mission nearby. He then confirms that the forms of the techniques are indeed very similar. The representative from Namgang explains that his clan's art uses the same principle of heaven, earth, and man. Soon after, the young woman from Wudong agrees and hands over a wooden box to the review panel. The box contains several letters from other sects, confirming suspicions of plagiarism of the basic artwork. With a wicked grin, the girl asks if the Baek family's arts aren't also mixed with other techniques. The lord of the Baek family says that's ridiculous, but our hero stares at him and asks if it really is. The young swordsman throws the paper down and says that this is the same claim they made about the shapes being plagiarized. With this, the little ghost of Namling is horrified and wonders if the Alliance panel is making up reasons. The lord of the Baek family shouts furiously as we see a letter confirming the overlapping of techniques. He calls the master of the new sect an insolent fool and tears up the letters with his energy, but the protagonist simply maintains a confident smile on his face. Lord Changwol of the Baek family stares at him with hatred and shouts his name angrily. Then he asks how he managed to verify all that, and if he spread the technique through letters. The boy says he has already said what he wanted to, and now it is Lord Changwol's turn to answer everyone present. The protagonist thinks that if they admit to plagiarizing their technique, it will involve 23 sects, and wonders if his uncle would risk so much. With a furious look, Lord Changwol begins to unsheath his sword, ready to attack his nephew. Then, in a swift movement, the Lord advances and attacks the young man, who defends the blow with his own blade. The representatives of the other sects are shocked by the sudden attack and shout for the Lord. Our hero manages to forcefully push his uncle away and shouts for him not to come any closer. With a determined smile, the young master says that this is a personal matter that belongs only to him and no one else. The Lord shouts that no matter what they say, he is of the Bakri clan and its future pillar, and asks if he still clings to that. He continues his attack, saying that the boy is the one who clings and questions whether he still harbors resentment towards the clan. The older man asks if it's because they didn't avenge him, and says he understands if the young man finds them pathetic for not protecting his mother. Then he prepares a powerful coup and says that if his nephew's intention is to ruin the Bakri clan, he will have to act. But the protagonist is not intimidated, and his eyes gleam with a blue energy as he prepares for the counterattack. Then he unleashes a powerful energy blast that completely overwhelms his uncle's attack. The Lord is thrown back by the force of the blow and seems shocked by the young swordsman's power. With his uncle kneeling on the ground, the cult leader says he has no intention of denying his own blood. He explains that it would be a lie to say he doesn't hold any resentment, but has moved on, and his uncle asks why he doesn't come back. The boy replies that as a cult leader, he needs to become stronger on his own, because he is not the same as before. Lord Changwol then asks how long he thinks he can withstand the pressure from the main family against his sect. With confidence, the young swordsman states that he is always prepared to withstand anything, just as he did this time. The old man is shocked to realize his nephew's determination. At that moment, a cry of joy echoed through the crowd watching everything. We see a flashback of the younger protagonist, happily training with his uncle in the family courtyard. The young man celebrates excitedly, having finally managed to defend against one of his uncle's direct punches. The older man laughs and challenges him to another punch, but the boy seems frightened by the idea. Back in the present, the sect leader tells his uncle that his techniques and martial arts are not plagiarized. He then asks his relative, as a nephew of the Bakri clan, to wait a little while, as one day he will clarify everything. Lord Changwol then stands up and seems to reflect on the young swordsman's words. Then he turns to the others and introduces himself as Bakri Song, the younger brother of the clan chief. With this, he declares in front of everyone that the Chian sect did not plagiarize the martial arts of the Bakri family. In the crowd, a hooded man smiles and says that the old man certainly chose the right person. A woman next to him calls him a noisy old man, and the man complains that he came all the way from far away just to watch. The hooded figure thinks the entire training camp is like a divine weapon, which he finds absurd. He reveals himself as the young lord of the demonic path and says that the protagonist is more interesting than he expected. Soon after, he says he'll leave first and disappears into the shadows, leaving the woman behind. The girl observes the place where he was and seems to think about that mysterious person who left. She then remembers her first business partner while watching the protagonist's group celebrating. The protagonist's disciple seems shocked by something she just noticed at the ceremony. 3 days have passed since the event, but no new member has appeared, leaving the disciples disappointed. Our hero tries to stay calm, but the system shows that his heart is beating a little faster. The young woman asks how they can recruit and says they need reputation or years of contribution to the community. The master then points to the disciple, who is shocked, but he simply asks him to hand something over. The disciple approaches the master and asks what that paper he is writing on is. Then the protagonist replies that it's a way to gain new disciples, and the girl looks at the document attentively. Far away, a martial arts instructor named Yi Gun is informed that the students at the Vermilion Pavilion have rejected the training. The older man wonders why, and his subordinate explains that the graduation competition is coming up and they think it's unfair. He goes on to say that the division of academies is unequal, with Vermilion representing prestigious clans and Mujung representing small sects. An assistant named Ji Gai Pyong comments that the fights used to be balanced, but this new group is quite different. Pyong explains that Mujung's disciples are very skilled and have won for 3 consecutive years, leaving Murion's morale in the dust. With that, Egun questions whether that's why they refuse and asks about the pavilion master, who is suddenly on their side. The assistant comments that their master wants to save face after 3 years of defeats and asks what Yi Gun will do. At that moment, a carrier pigeon appears at the window and lands there, drawing the attention of the Alliance instructor. Then he turns to his assistant Ji Gai Wei and orders the boy to gather all the disciples from the Vermilion Pavilion. With the letter in hand, Yi Gun declares that the training will proceed as planned, greatly surprising his subordinate. The scene then shifts to the mountains near Huayong County, where a young man appears to be having a nightmare. Suddenly, the boy wakes up startled and breathless, as if he were fleeing from something terrible in his sleep. He sits on the bed in a room with several other empty beds, still trying to catch his breath. This is Sam Wu Gang, a disciple of Vermilion who seems angry with himself for dishonoring his own name. Outside, he meets San Mun Cheek, who tells him to get stronger first because it's not his turn to act yet. Mun Kiuk greets him, and the boy says he couldn't sleep, so he asks if anything strange happened during the night. With that, Wu Gang apologizes and says that everything about the training is his fault, leaving the other confused. He reveals that he was the one who encouraged everyone to refuse, and that is why they were punished. The boy says it doesn't matter and that they can pressure the sect leader if they can't handle the training. Then, Mun Cheek announces that it's time to change shifts and tells his colleague to go to sleep while a shadow appears in the background. Suddenly, the two become alert, and the boy shouts, asking who is there in the darkness of the forest. With a smile, our hero appears and introduces himself as Bak Rai Un, the leader of the Yua Chian sect. He steps back a little and announces that he will begin the entrance test for all the disciples present. The two young men are confused and on guard as the sect leader explains that the rule is quite simple. He then explains that if only one of them manages to get through the sect's gate, they will all pass the test. With that, San Wu Gang becomes filled with confidence and shouts for all of Murion's disciples to prepare for battle. But in the blink of an eye, The protagonist advances with incredible speed and attacks the young disciple. The boy is completely shocked and speechless after being struck by the devastating blow from the cult leader, fallen to his knees and defeated. Shan Wu. Gang faces the sect leader, who observes him with superiority. With a smile, the protagonist says that they will pass if they manage to escape him without any injuries. Far away, near Mount Wudang, someone asks if they have heard the news from the Merlion Hall. A group of warriors discusses the new training location of a newly formed sect that no one has ever heard of. A young woman says she's not interested, and that the Martial Alliance is just trying to even things out with some random master. She states with conviction that it doesn't matter where they go because, in the end, she will always win. At this moment, we see a flashback where a boy says goodbye to his older brother, who is leaving. The young boy seems very sad about his brother leaving him behind. Then he runs after his brother down the hallway. He even tries to stop him from leaving, but the boy is left alone on the ground crying while looking at the amulet his brother left behind. We see a young woman named Baek Lisan who vows not to lose until she discovers why her brother abandoned the clan. Back in the forest, our hero smiles confidently as he attacks the disciples with his powerful weapon. He observes the two young men, one fallen and the other advancing with a spear, and says that they are not so bad. Then the disciple hurries to help his colleague San Wu gang and confronts the sect master. The boy introduces himself as Seal Mun Chiuk and asks why the leader of the Yuchian sect is attacking them. With a smile, the protagonist explains that this is part of his teaching method for getting to know his new students. The young warrior stares at him determinedly, and the sect master reminds him that whoever reaches the gate will pass the test. With that, Mun Chiuk asks what will happen to them if they happen to fail the entrance exam. The protagonist steps forward again and says, if they don't pass, there's no point in going to the martial arts tournament. He continues the attack and threatens to tie them all up in a warehouse until the end of the tournament fights. The cult leader explains that this means they will lose without even having a chance to fight. One of the disciples is shocked by the statement and cries out in despair, begging him to wait a moment. But the sect leader completely ignores the appeal and continues his relentless attack against the young warriors. With a determined look, San Wu gang reflects the protagonist's image in his blade and seems to have a plan. He gathers the other disciples and asks if defeating the master, there also guarantees passing the test. The protagonist smiles at the proposal and agrees, telling them to come at him with everything they've got. The disciples then leap to attack from various angles, and the sect leader praises their wise decision. However, he easily dodges the coordinated attack and throws them away with a single movement. With a victorious smile, the young master says that their plan could have worked against another opponent. One of the disciples observes the scene, somewhat shocked by his overwhelming power. We see the defeated disciples on the ground as the sect leader stares at them with a sigh of disappointment. He then asks where all their confidence went, since they freeze under a little pressure. With a swift movement, the sect leader attacks San Wu gang, who desperately tries to defend himself from the blow. The master holds him and comments that despite his spirit, the young warrior seems strangely restrained in his movements. At that moment, another disciple advances with his spear, attempting to create an opening to attack the master from behind. But the protagonist easily dodges the attack and continues to analyze the abilities of his new students. One of the young men is shocked to see the master's strength as he cuts down several trees with a single blow of his weapon. The sect leader then turns his attention to Seal Mun Chiuk, appearing somewhat impressed by the young man's attitude. He notes that the young man assesses the situation quickly and likely has a lot of experience in real battles. While fighting, the master notices that everyone is very tense and using too much force, which hinders his own movements. With a focused gaze, he continues to look around and study the fighting style of each of the disciples. Then he blocks another attack from Wu gang, who becomes frustrated at not being able to land a single hit. The young disciple curses angrily at the enormous power difference between them and the master of that sect. Seeing his colleague's frustration, Cheek approaches to pass on a new combat strategy to them. He asks Wu Gang to take care of the defense and explains that the master is adjusting to their fighting rhythm. With this, he believes that the three of them together can use this loophole to finally create an opening in attack. The three disciples then coordinate an attack, with one preparing to defend while the others look for the right moment. In a synchronized movement, the trio advances toward the cult leader with a newfound determination in their eyes. But the protagonist surpasses them once again and hurls them away with a single movement. Amidst a wave of energy, the master stands alone in the center. San Wu Gang shouts in frustration and lunges at the cult master, who is watching him. The cult leader holds him back and says it's foolish to attack, believing he wouldn't use full force against them. Then the protagonist continues to dodge and counterattack the young warrior's blows with ease. One of the disciples is struck squarely and screams in pain from the impact of the master's powerful attack. The sect leader throws him to the ground and says he expected more from them, and that at least one of them would have martial arts talent. He declares that it's over, but reminds everyone that a promise is a promise, while a red energy surges from the young man. Suddenly, San Wu Gang stands up, his eyes glowing red and a sinister aura surrounding him. The young disciple then unleashes a powerful red energy attack that surprises the cult leader. The protagonist is shocked by the twist and recognizes that familiar technique the boy used. He identifies the skill as the form of the dead sword of the Great Blood Sect, a demonic martial art. Wu Gang looks exhausted, and the sect master realizes he's risking his life just to pass the training. Intrigued, the cult leader grabs a weapon and challenges the young man to show him everything he has been hiding. The protagonist then prepares and blocks the disciple's powerful demonic attack with his own blade. Red energy spreads across the battlefield, creating a terrifying image of demonic wings. The sect master remains steadfast and focused as he holds back the young warrior's advance in the forbidden technique. San Wu Gang is at his limit, but the sect leader calls him a brat and praises his incredible talent. The system warns that the protagonist's desire index has increased for the first time in a long time. With an excited smile, the sect leader shouts that he wants that disciple for himself. He then defeats him with ease, and he screams in pain upon being defeated. The protagonist is satisfied after the intense fight against the talented demonic disciple. San Wu Gang wakes up confused in a bed and wonders where he is, and if this is the Heavenly Sword Clan. A bald man greets him, and the young man realizes he overdid in the fight with his master the previous day. He then recognizes the man as Unjin and is surprised to see him there in his room. Suddenly, the boy remembers the fight and the moment when he used his demonic technique in front of his master. He panics when he realizes he used the Blood Sword Clan technique and has been discovered. The young man despairs, thinking he has lost control and may now be executed as a spy. But Unjin interrupts him and warns that it's almost time for the meeting and that they need to leave soon. Wu Gang is confused by his colleague's calmness and wonders if the sect leader hasn't said anything. He gets dressed and reflects that the master must have noticed his technique because his expression was quite strange. The boy remembers that the sect leader even mentioned his master and the great serpent's sword by name. From the outside, he observes the protagonist and wonders why he hasn't yet turned him in as a spy. The sect leader is in a good mood, and the young disciple is becoming increasingly confused by the situation. With a suspicious look, he tries to understand what the leader of that sect's real plan is. Suddenly, a chill runs down his spine, and he realizes that the cult leader is much more than he appears. The protagonist then announces that they all passed the first test, and that more people than expected remained. San Wu Gang looks around and realizes with shock that they are the only ones left from the original group. We see the faces of the other 4 disciples who managed to pass the test along with the young warrior. The group of survivors consists of 1 girl and 3 boys, including the 2 who fought with the master. And finally, we see the face of San Wu Gang, the talented disciple who uses demonic martial arts. The sect leader then explains that they will train with their disciples and then study on their own. The disciple hands a wooden spear to Seaman Chiok, who thanks the young warrior for her gesture. Then she offers the training weapons to the rest of the group, who watch her very attentively. The girl introduces herself as Seo, Hawaii, and says that she will be their training partner from that day on. The sect leader then asks everyone to introduce themselves and try to get along during the training. Soon after, one of the sect's disciples approaches the girl and introduces himself as Wong Pao with a smile. But Seaman Cheek cuts the conversation short and says they should skip the introductions and start fighting right away. He volunteers to fight alone and tells the rest of his group to just stand and watch the fight. The boy seems determined and thinks that despite past defeats, they won't lose to a nameless clan. Seo Hua then replies that they are not so weak as to lose to an unknown clan. With that, Seaman Chiok advances quickly and promises that he will end the fight as soon as possible. The young disciple, however, manages to block the boy's attack with her own wooden spear. The warrior then spins his weapon, creating a powerful circular motion, and shouts that the fight is not over yet. The two continue exchanging blows, and the clash of their wooden spears creates sparks in the training yard. He prepares one last, powerful downward strike, ready to finish the fight once and for all. With a determined look, the boy declares that this is the end of the fight and that he will emerge victorious. But to her surprise, the girl's spear glows with a blue energy, and she easily stops her attack. The system warns that its clear mirror still water ability has been activated, and the boy is startled by the energy. With a smile, the young disciple warns that the blow will hurt a little and that he must hold on tight. Then she unleashes a powerful blast of blue energy from her spear toward her opponent. The other disciples watch in shock at the girl's power, but with a smile, the girl challenges the rest of the group to attack her all at once. Unjin rushes forward shouting her name and attacks her with a powerful punch that the girl can barely defend against. He praises her blocking stance and says she must have trained a lot to withstand the blow. The young woman is a little embarrassed by the compliment and thanks the young man for his unexpected kindness. But he warns that she won't be able to block the next blow so easily and prepares a new attack. Suddenly Wong Paul jumps in front of her and blocks the monk's attack, surprising the young disciple. At that moment, a hand grabs Wang Paul's wrist, completely stopping his movement. It is San Wukang who smiles and says that from now on he will be the opponent of Monk Unjin. The monk's arm is gripped tightly, and he seems to feel pain from the pressure of his new opponent's grip. Kang admits that they are strong and warns that from now on his group will fight with full force. Then Murian's disciples advance together in a coordinated attack against the young Wong Pao. But to their surprise, the cult group manages to block all their attacks with great ease. Kang becomes frustrated, and his demonic energy emerges as he complains about losing to a nameless clan. From afar, the sect leader observes the entire fight with a serious and thoughtful expression on his face. Suddenly, young Seo Horn notices something and seems surprised by what is happening in the fight. Wong Pao then shouts and lunges forward with a powerful punch toward one of Murian's disciples. One of Murian's disciples, named Danriyan, is shocked to witness the boy's sudden attack. He uses his weapon to make a low attack and knock down the young warrior with a single blow. Then he continues his attack with a powerful swing of his weapon, ready to finish off his opponent. The blow lands squarely, after which the other disciple and Kang shout the name of their colleague, Kyohyuk. With almost the entire group defeated, the disciple informs the last opponent that she is the only one left. Seo Hua says the fight already seems decided and asks the young warrior if she wishes to continue the combat. Murian's girl stares at her opponent with a shocked look and says that this is impossible. She looks at her defeated companions and remembers that they were a group of 5 warriors. From a distance, the protagonist observes the scene and comments that it seems things have finally calmed down a bit. Then he reveals with a smile that young Seo Ho has only been learning martial arts for a month. All of Murian's disciples are completely shocked by the sect master's revelation. Sun Wukong wonders what kind of training she did to have so much inner energy at such a young age. The sect leader then explains that from now on they will research coordinated fighting techniques for 2 or more people. He goes on to say that this is especially important for them, as they have lost for 3 consecutive years. The sect leader teaches them that to achieve this, they need to believe in themselves and their companions. All the disciples thank him for the teaching, and the master concludes the first day of training by telling everyone to rest. But before leaving, the protagonist asks Sun Wukong to stay behind for a private conversation. The other disciples leave the training courtyard, commenting on each other's performance in the fight. The master and the young disciple are alone in the sect's courtyard under the blue sky and the bright sun. The system then activates soundproof mode, so that their conversation cannot be heard by anyone. The cult leader praises the boy for his perception, and the demonic disciple is somewhat confused. With a smile, the protagonist says that they can continue the conversation they didn't finish before. Then he questions him about why the young master of the Blood Sword clan is serving as a cadet. More confident than I am, the master warns that if the guy doesn't give a good answer, something will happen. Then the protagonist threatens him, saying that he must prepare for the consequences of his actions. Floating with his energy, the master repeats the question about why a young master is there as a cadet. The young disciple panics and wonders what to do while considering the possibility of running away. But the cult leader unleashes an energy blast, demonstrating his power and leaving the boy with no way out. The master appears behind him and warns him that he has no option to escape that conversation. Then he demands an answer, and the demonic disciple shouts, asking why the master is there. The scene shifts to 5 years earlier, when a man questions the young man about breaking an opponent's arm. The master of the Blood Sword clan orders the boy to stand up while he remains kneeling on the ground. Angrily, the man shouts, asking why he didn't finish off the enemy or at least incapacitate him. He reminds him of his position and that a leader should be feared, and questions how long he will disappoint him. To prove his loyalty, the master then orders the young man to take the life of his own older sister. The man explains that his sister is at war and that he must infiltrate the alliance to carry out the order. He shouts that the boy's pathetic sentimentality could cost the lives of thousands of the clan's disciples. The master says that he will also order his sister to kill him and forbids him from fleeing or taking his own life. He declares that one day the boy must kill him and his sister to inherit the clan, and threatens him if he refuses the order. With no other choice and a sword at his neck, the young disciple finally agrees to obey the order. He then declares with a hatred in his eyes that he will join the alliance as a spy to carry out the terrible mission. But in his thoughts he plans only to buy time to escape from his master's sight. Back in the present, the young disciple shouts that he needs to escape and charges forward with his demonic energy. But the protagonist hits him squarely with his blue energy, and the boy screams in pain from the impact. The sect leader comments that he has decided on a frontal attack, and that he lacks the skill to assess his opponent. With that, he challenges the young man to show more of his true abilities, and the boy asks what he plans. The sect leader reminds him that he is there to train, that the fight will be easier if he uses his full power. Then the protagonist challenges him to prove his worth, and the two exchange powerful blows in the sect's courtyard. The young disciple realizes that the master is on a completely different level than the one in the entrance exam. He understands that one wrong move could cost him his life, and prepares to fight with everything he has. Using his demonic energy, the boy unleashes a powerful sword attack against the cult leader. The two clash in a duel of blades and energies, and the young disciple seems to be at his breaking point. The protagonist praises the demonic technique, but says that the boy is not suited for the arts of the dark path. Surrounded by red energy, the young warrior asks what the master means by that. The cult leader explains that he is not suited for the sword of slaughter, which demands cutting everything down to win. He remembers the words of his former master, who shouted that this was the black man's way. Irritated, The boy asks what the master knows about this, and the sect leader points to the hesitation in his sword. The protagonist attacks him and says that he lacks the true intention to take his opponent's life. The young disciple shouts angrily, asking what he knows to speak to him like that about his life. The master then strikes him in the face and says that the boy's sword speaks for itself. The young warrior falls to the ground defeated, and the sect leader stares at him with a serious and questioning look. Then the protagonist asks what the true purpose is that he seeks with all that power. The young disciple shouts that in the end it all comes down to taking lives, and that the purpose doesn't matter. Then the sect leader questions him about why he is holding a sword in his hands. The boy hesitates for a moment, but quickly regains his composure, ready to answer the question. With his demonic energy flowing through him, he declares that the reason he fights is to protect something. In a final effort, the young warrior unleashes all his power and attacks the protagonist with full force. The clash of energies creates a huge explosion in the sect's courtyard, and the two are thrown far away. The demonic disciple stands, but appears exhausted and wounded after the final confrontation with his master. Fallen to his knees, he reveals that the reason he fights is for himself, because he needs to become stronger. He remembers his father, an honorable man who wasn't a great martial artist, but knew how to keep his word. His father was a warrior who fought alone, even when everyone else fled the battlefield. The boy remembers seeing his father defeated in combat, and this deeply affected him. He thinks his father's departure was unfair, and that if he acts recklessly, he will suffer the same fate. That is why he believes he needs to become stronger and endure everything no matter what happens to him. But he realizes that his obsession with power has led him to become the young master of the Blood Sword clan. Back in the present, the cult leader looks at him and asks if he regrets the past he lived through. With a tired look, the young disciple replies that he doesn't know whether or not he regrets his choices. He explains that he only wanted to protect his father's honor and prove that he was not a weak coward. The boy wanted to show everyone that his father was the bravest warrior of all, just like a good son. With tears in his eyes, he shouts that he is fighting to prove he is his father's heir and carries on his legacy. But now he admits that he feels lost and no longer knows which path he should follow in his life. The young disciple surrenders and asks the master to kill him, but begs him to spare his colleagues. The protagonist crouches down in front of him and says, with a serious look, that he understands the boy's situation. Then he says that the young man is fighting to protect, and the demonic disciple is confused by the statement. Suddenly, the master throws him forcefully against a slope, and the boy screams in pain from the impact. The young man writhes in pain on the floor, and the cult leader orders him to get up immediately. He says that the boy reminds him of a little boy lost and blinded by revenge, which confuses the disciple. The protagonist reveals that he also left the Bakri clan and joined the martial arts training hall in the past. He offers to help the young man improve his martial arts skills while the others hone their basics. The sect leader then reveals that he knows the boy is a direct disciple of a large family. He promises to dismantle the young man's entire foundation and martial arts skills in the next 15 days of training. The master warns him that the process may be painful and asks if he trusts and is able to follow his leadership. With a confident smile, the protagonist says not to worry, as this is his role as a teacher. Far away in the sanctuary of the Murim Covenant, someone comments on the talent of the boys from Mujang, Guan. Another man confirms that they have high scores and that the masters are already keeping an eye on them. The oldest man, named Wai Jahak, reveals that the leader of the Sado Alliance proposed a wager in the tournament. He explains that if the training hall wins, the Alliance will have to grant him a small favor. Jihak continues, saying that it's an offer they can't refuse because they need time to regroup. With a determined look, the old master declares that he will raise the stakes because he cannot afford to lose. He then appoints as the new tournament instructor a senior who graduated from the martial arts hall 10 years ago. The chosen one is Qian Griu, the current #1 prodigy of Wudang, who smiles at the news. At night, A female disciple complains that she is very tired after a full day of intense training. She keeps complaining that fighting 2 against 5 every day is too much even for them. Suddenly, the protagonist appears and asks if they are already tired, which surprises the girl. He then announces that when the training is over, they will attend the Murim Alliance tournament. The sect leader makes a proposal. If they win 8 out of 15 fights, he will give them a prize. The reward will be an exclusive weapon custom, made for each of them, which excites the disciples. Young Seo Hoa is overjoyed with the news and can't wait to get her own weapon. The other disciples also celebrate the chance to win a prize and promise to do their best. During training, one of Murion's disciples is surprised by Seo Ha's skill and questions her. The others also comment that she seems more energetic, and she says that now they have extra motivation. One of the boys then asks if the master only treats well the people he likes in the clan. Young Wang Pao laughs at the question, while San Wu Kang watches from afar, tied up and punished by his master. The protagonist calls him a fool and questions whether the order to do nothing was so difficult to follow. The boy wonders what the master means by doing nothing, while the leader attaches a talisman to him. The young man screams in pain from the shock of the talisman, which the master explains is used to trap heretics. The cult leader says the talisman will trap him if he tries to move and challenges him to free himself without using his body. Suddenly, Wang Pao confronts the master and asks if it's true that he's giving Kang special treatment. The protagonist tells him to continue training and says to show how much they have improved with motivation. He turns to his disciple and asks him to observe his companions closely and reflect. We see Murion's disciples training with those of the sect, and they seem to be in complete harmony. During the fight, a disciple thinks that his opponent is not giving him enough space to position himself and attack. Seaman Chek then uses his own body to attack, since the spear's reach was the problem. The tied-up young man is shocked to see his colleague use physical attack techniques and wonders when he learned them. He questions the movement Seo Hua made and whether it was a mistake on her part during training. The master then asks if he can see the growth of his companions, who have improved very quickly. He provokes him by saying that the boy should be afraid of falling behind when he sees the progress of others. The system reports that Seaman Chiak entered a state of spear and body as one during combat. The young man then attacks with a new technique, using his body like a spear to overcome his opponent. Desperate, the bound disciple begs to be released, for he cannot be the only one left behind. The master says that if he moves, he will never be like his colleague, because he is only imitating his former master. The cult leader shouts that he can't break his habits using only the techniques he's learned and questions him. The boy then realizes that if he cannot fix the habits of the body, he needs to fix those of the energy. The protagonist confirms this and says that while his colleagues are searching for new ways, he needs to go further and change his energy. He explains that a martial artist uses at most 70 of the 365 acupuncture points. Determined, the young disciple decides to find new acupuncture points and channel his energy into them. The system warns that your internal energy has mixed with impure energy and is flowing backward in your body. The master warns him not to rush, for if the mutant energy engulfs him, he will lose his danshan. The other disciples are startled by the extreme training and wonder what is going on there. San Wu Kang screams in pain as red energy emanates from his body, and his teammates become worried. Tied up, he thinks he can't give up now or go back to his horrible past. He focuses on emptying his acupuncture points and purifying impure energy to expel it from his body. The system alerts San Wu Kang that he has initiated the minor celestial circulation, and he screams with the effort. The young disciple finally collapses to the ground, exhausted and coughing after the intense purification training. The sect leader approaches him and asks if he is all right after the whole painful process. The boy faints, and the protagonist gently holds him to prevent him from collapsing to the ground. He then says that the young man has finally emptied himself of the martial arts of the Blood Sword clan. With a smile, the master congratulates him for becoming a blank slate, ready for a new beginning. The disciple says that if he is now a blank slate, he also needs to practice so as not to fall behind. The sect leader agrees and encourages him to fill in this blank with his own sword path. All the disciples train together and seem to be having fun and getting along very well in the sect. Far away in the forest, a man finds a victim hanging from a tree, the body completely dry. A young female warrior tells the boy to shut up and observes the scene with a serious and worried expression. The man notices the wound on the neck and the way the victim was hung and concludes that it is the person they were looking for. The girl crouches down and realizes that they've lost the creature's trail once again during the chase. The boy comments that there is no pattern among the victims and that it seems the creature only likes blood. He suggests that the cause of all this may be a monster with an uncontrollable thirst for blood. The man continues his analysis and says that the damage is small for such a large monster, but the lack of tracks indicates intelligence. The young warrior stands up and says that they cannot allow any more victims and that they will continue the pursuit. The boy agrees with her decision and says that they must do what their superior orders without questioning. He then thinks for a moment and suggests that perhaps they should take out life insurance. We see a notice that says to contact the leader of the Celestial Sword clan in case of absence for more than a month. The protagonist reads the warning and senses that it will become a major inconvenience for him in the future. He meets with his disciples and congratulates them on their hard work during the last 2 weeks of training. The master says that Siowa and Wang Paul have achieved 8 victories and that they will receive their promised weapons. He encourages them to be proud of themselves and says he expects them to do well in the second training session. The disciples look at the master expectantly as he prepares to announce the next phase of the training. With a wicked grin, the protagonist declares that the second training session will be for them to face each other. Elsewhere, a man is reading a report about missing persons cases in the Hunan region. He explains that the victims are found with their arteries severed and the blood completely drained from their bodies. The protagonist listens to the report and comments that it seems to be the work of a serial killer or a demon. The man goes on to say that the Murim Alliance sent Namgung Wu and the Taoist Chung Ha to investigate. The sect leader is relieved to hear the names and says there's nothing to worry about if it's them. He explains that the combination of the two is excellent and that they are a very strong and skilled duo. Suddenly, a dark memory of a purple demon with glowing red eyes flashes into the protagonist's mind. He thinks of the word demon and admits that it brings back terrible memories of his dark past. The man asks when he's going to tell the martial arts school, and the protagonist is surprised by something. Suddenly, a fight breaks out, and the monk Unjin is thrown forcefully against a table, breaking everything. The man shouts, asking where he thinks he's going, and the monk replies that he's not running away from anyone. The monk and another disciple begin to argue, and the protagonist merely observes. The disciple reveals that Chung Ryu, the Taiji warrior, is involved and that he is teaching at the martial arts school. The protagonist thinks Chung Ryu is a genius, and that people like that are not usually good at teaching. A man apologizes for his disciple's lack of talent, but the sect leader reassures him. With a confident smile, he reveals that during his years at the martial arts school, he never lost to Chung Ryu. The disciples are surprised, and the monk asks about the master's past, who says he was called the Dragon of the White Sword. Upon hearing the name, the monk is shocked and asks if the master is the former leader of the Celestial Squadron. The boy gets excited and declares that from that moment on, he will follow the sect leader without question. The master says that they did well in the last month, and that they followed his teachings better than expected. But the disciples shout that they can still train more, and the master tells them to shut up and listen. One of the boys comments that no matter how intense the training is, they recover quickly and feel good. The protagonist then explains that they received enhanced recovery because they were temporarily in his cult. He goes on to say that rest is necessary and that mental fatigue is just as important as physical fatigue. The master declares that this is their day of rest and encourages them to visit Daunting Lake to gain experience. He warns them that, if they cause trouble out there, they will come crawling back to the Murim Alliance. The disciples assure them that they will remember the warning and leave excitedly for their well-deserved day off. The group arrives at Daunting Lake, and one of them laments that Siowa and Wang Pao couldn't go with them. Excited, they decide to go eat the local specialty, the House of the Falling Flower, and rush to the restaurant. But when they arrive, an employee apologizes and says that there are no more seats available for them. He explains that the first 2 floors are full, and the third is reserved for the greatest martial artists. One of the young men starts complaining about the price, but is stopped by his colleagues before causing a scene. Suddenly, a woman wearing a straw hat approaches and offers to pay. She says she only has one condition and asks them to tell her everything about Bakley Woon. The woman removes her hat, revealing her face, and asks if they accept her proposal. The disciples are surprised and wonder who that mysterious blue-eyed woman is. Elsewhere, a man tells Gawol that he has found her target and that he is an interesting man. He remembers the strong impression the protagonist made at the opening of the Righteous Heavens sect. The woman says she also wanted to make a good impression and planned to open a store to gain a reputation. She explains that since the master of the Yellow Dragon Hall mentioned him, she didn't send him a letter, but to her surprise, she never heard from him and wondered how that was possible. Back at the restaurant, she eats with the disciples, and one of them comments that he thought she was a spy. The woman laughs and says she's used to being misunderstood, which embarrasses the young man. She then asks if the sect leader said anything about her, and the disciple says he probably forgot. The young woman is shocked by the response, and the others try to fix the situation by saying that the teacher is busy. She mentions the bet with the Unorthodox Alliance, and the guy asks what kind of bet that is. The woman realizes they know nothing and decides to tell them everything about the situation. She reveals that the 2 alliances are competing, and that the unorthodox one has bet on the Mirion Martial Arts School. The disciples are shocked by the news, and the monk says that the leader of the other covenant won't even be able to attend. The young woman explains that if they lose, they will suspend all attacks and expansions for an entire year. She goes on to say that if they win, the Murim Alliance will have to do a small favor for their leader. The woman concludes that now the entire Murim Alliance expects them to lose, and that they are pawns in the bet. One of the disciples becomes indignant and says that he cannot accept this, and that he will demand an explanation. The boy says that he and San Wuging have nothing to lose, but the others need to be careful with their sects. He goes on to say that even if they lose their honor, it will not disappear, and the alliance will compensate them. The young warrior confirms his position and faces his colleague with a serious and determined look, but the girl gets angry and yells, asking if he has a desire to end his life right there. The fight begins, and the demonic disciple rises from the table with a furious and determined look. He wonders what the cult leader was thinking when he put them in that difficult situation. Elsewhere, the protagonist talks to a man and says that the Murim Alliance will continue to pressure them. With a confident smile, he declares that now that they have come to him, they are his people, and he will protect them. The man becomes frightened and says that going against the Murim Alliance seems like a terrible idea to them. The sect leader reassures him and tells him to ask permission from whoever is behind him if he is afraid. Suddenly, a man runs up to them and warns that martial artists from both alliances are gathering. The man despairs and asks if a war is about to begin, but the messenger denies it and says that demons have appeared. The protagonist is shocked by the news, and the man reveals that a procession of 100 demons is heading towards the lake. In the dark forest, a terrifying sound echoes, and a mysterious creature prepares to attack its victims. A demon with glowing red eyes attacks a man and bites him fiercely, ready to devour him.